12:05 in the afternoon here on 90.3 FM. And that means it's time on this Wednesday to get Helping Seniors of Brevard underway. Let's check in right now with the host of Helping Seniors of Brevard, and as I always like to say, the Daily Double, because Kerry Fink is also the Executive Director. So Kerry, good afternoon to you, and I know you've got a great show lined up.
Yeah, thank you, John Harper. I always smile whenever you say the Daily Double. It makes me feel like maybe I won the Powerball, that big, but maybe that's next week, right?
That's right.
Well, it's all good. Well, thank you for joining us today as we gather around the radio every Wednesday lunchtime. It's become our tradition here at 90.3 FM, WEJF. Want to welcome listeners who are joining us online as well, WEJF.net, and those who are catching this as a podcast later, because basically once the show airs, we make sure that it's a resource available. So it's out there on everything, wherever you get podcasts, whether it's iTunes, Spotify, you name it. Hey Amazon, or Hey Alexa, I guess is what they call it. You don't say Hey Amazon, you say Hey Alexa. But anyway, wherever you find a podcast, you'll find Helping Seniors. You'll actually also find Helping Seniors on our own YouTube channel, Helping Seniors of Brevard, our own Facebook page, Helping Seniors of Brevard, and at our website, helpingseniors.brevard.org. We always make these materials available because Joe Steckler, our president and founder, he has always had a long history of wanting to get information in the hands of seniors. So we've done that. First he goes, Kerry, I did this back in my days with Brevard Alzheimer's when he was building the Joe's Clubs. He said, I want to get information in the hands of seniors and their families so they can make the best decisions possible. And here we are 13 years now into Helping Seniors of Brevard, and that's really become our mission because we're here to help what we call with senior navigation, helping give information and direction to folks who are either seniors themselves or love and care for seniors. Oftentimes we get calls. It could be the spouse of a senior, the family of a senior. It could be anyone. Sometimes it's actually just an interested neighbor of a senior who gives us a call and say, hey, listen, I'm a little concerned about the lady who lives 2 doors down. And, she's kind of on her own, and I don't know if she's able to get to the doctors and things like that. And so anyway, we're going to have a good conversation today that I think is going to add to your expertise of things aging, because one of the things, while we take the calls in from people, I'm going to give you that number, so grab a pencil so you can jot down. It's a great number to have handy for you. It is the Helping Seniors Information Helpline. You'll either speak with Nancy Deerdorf or you will speak with Karen Wernland. One of them will definitely try to help you any way that they can. And so you'll want to keep that number. Let me give that to you, 321-473-7770. But you'll also want to know that we're serious about getting information that's going to help you along your way. In fact, that's how we get some ideas for topics of the show. So with that, let me introduce our guests in the studio today. None other than longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization. She volunteers her time on our volunteer board of directors, but she has her own excellent company herself. In fact, I'm now calling her a rock star because she is the winner of the Women Who Rock Awards from We Venture. It's none other than Jennifer Barton.
Yay, thank you. Nice to be here.
And your terrific company, Seniors Helping Seniors of Brevard.
Yes, and that really was an absolutely wonderful award. Very humbled, very honored to have that. It's a organization that I've been supporting for years and who has supported me as a female business owner for years. And so that was just a wonderful event last week, and so very happy.
Well, it's well-deserved, too. I mean, that's one of the things I love about the team that we've all fortunate, so privileged to work with in the Helping Seniors world, is we get some really high-caliber people who are excellent at their business skills, but are also compassionate and caring and really set out to do the right thing. So that's a great tie-in point for me to introduce our other guest in the studio, who is just like that. He's been doing this for years. He really knows this stuff cold. He's a great friend of the Helping Seniors organization, Jerry Hadlock Jr., who's a guy that you really want to give a call when you've got questions about Medicare and related. We were talking about some stuff before the show, and I could just say probably most of this is not suitable for air, but he's got stories. I mean, he's got stories. Welcome, Jerry.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, welcome.
I missed that.
Yeah, so what we're going to try to do is give you some help today in the conversation that we're going to have on the radio, so maybe you don't become one of Jerry's stories.
Yeah, right. You do not want to be one of Jerry's stories.
So if it's okay, let's dive right into this because I understand that we're coming up on March 31st, and that's a pretty important deadline because a lot of people, we all understand that our mailboxes get clogged with all this Medicare, choose your plan. This is, all this stuff that goes on. And then it gets quiet because now you've made your decision. But then you go to the doctor maybe in January, February, and you realize, wow, that prescription I need isn't covered the right way. Right. Or, wow, that doctor used to be on the plan, right. Not anymore. Yep. Or I changed the plan and none of my doctors are on the plan.
Yes.
So talk about this deadline and why it's important somebody gives you a call literally like this week about this.
So we have a deadline coming up the end of this month, March 31st. Right now we're in what they call OEP. And it's allowing someone to change a one-time change from one MA or Medicare Advantage to another, or to make one-time change from one drug plan to another. You can't do it multiple. You can only do one time, and after that, then you're locked in until the end of the year.
Yeah, which is the next open.
Yeah.
Well, no, right, because even when you make a choice like in October,
right,
it doesn't kick in until the January 1st, right?
That's right, exactly.
So if you don't make this call now, you're sort of stuck. Yes. I mean, hopefully you're not stuck, but I mean, you are kind of stuck.
Well, hopefully. Yeah. You don't want to, like you said, go down to the doctor and what do you mean they don't take the plan? And I've had it where doctors also leave for various reasons. They're not supposed to, but they have. They do sometimes. But a lot of times it's the maybe misinformation. They just didn't check the doctors. So I've had that also. Or they didn't check the medications.
Well, is it, I guess probably we all understand what that word assume actually means.
Yes.
And one of the problems with that word is, we were okay with our plan last year, so we just let it roll over to the next year. But that doesn't mean that there weren't changes to that plan. Am I saying that right?
You are saying that totally right. And I've had a lot of times it's the drugs. So one year, the plan may have covered those medications. Going into this year, there's certain ones they don't cover anymore. So we got to review those drug plans, especially.
Yeah, I want to get Jennifer into this conversation as well because, we've talked about this on the radio before that I guess one of the kind of the hidden things that you can run into with a plan is this donut hole thing. I want you to take a minute, explain the donut hole. But Jennifer, we've talked about this a little bit where you don't really realize until you're halfway through the year, all of a sudden you're in it, the prescriptions you thought were covered are now coming out of your pocket for a while.
Yes.
No, and I will tease my own family about that because, here we are, seniors helping seniors. We're all seniors all the time. And we had talked about the donut hole, and Mom and Dad never had hit the donut hole before. Right. And just about maybe 3 years ago now, they were on new medications that all of a sudden were a little bit more expensive, different tiers. And, oh my gosh,
it's
August
shocking
maybe
at that point.
We're in the donut hole and they want what?
Exactly.
And she's like, Jennifer, did you know about this? Well, yeah, we've been talking about that for years, but it's one of those things where you don't really know until you've gotten there.
That's right.
How bad that really is. So even though I tease her, we've been talking about this for a while, it's that you don't know what you don't know.
Right.
Until it really hits you and you see it in your pocketbook. Oh my gosh. So we learned about the different tiers of medications and how that tier can change from year to year depending on the plan. And why that is so important to get those drugs checked every year to make sure that they're going to be covered.
Yep. Now, if they go to a Medicare.gov and they create an account and a login, they're usually all their drugs are there. And if you click on it, it'll actually show you if and when you hit that coverage gap and donut hole.
Wow.
It'll tell you the month.
Wow.
So I did one just yesterday. It said this lady's going to hit it in September. So I was explaining to her, hey, be ready. Or we try to get these drugs another way.
Right.
Because if you can get them outside of the drug plan, that's how they calculate and keep track of the donut hole and coverage gap.
I've got so many questions about that. We have a gentleman who's in the Joe's Senior Resource Center Brevard. He's one of the partners in there. His name is Joe Pons, and his company is called Canadian Meds of Melbourne.
Yes.
And that is exactly why he does what he does, is he helps people because so often for a senior, you shouldn't do without the medicine.
That's
It could really harm your ability to stay alive, to put it bluntly. And so that's what he specializes in doing, is helping people navigate.
Yes.
So that's why his company is Canadian Meds of Melbourne. He knows the legitimate, correct, safe pharmaceutical ways to get things that are at huge savings, and sometimes it's the difference between somebody eating and not eating.
Yes.
It's crazy that it should come down to it, but it does. But I guess the question I wanted to ask you, Jerry, was, since we only have a couple of days, maybe you just let your plan roll. Should you take a look at it now because it sounds to me like once we hit the 31st, you're just like stuck, right?
If you haven't looked at it prior to enrolling, and you're assuming, like we talked about, then yes, you ought to review it.
Yeah, because Jennifer, that's kind of what happened. It sounds like the story you relating in your family is right. Is like everybody just thought we're going to be fine, and until all of a sudden you go down to the drugstore to pick up your prescription, and it's like, holy cow, what happened?
Yeah. Well, exactly. And so if not only if you didn't look, at open enrollment, but if you've been put on a new medication, it was just what happened to my dad. It was a new medication that they hadn't dealt with before, and all of a sudden they realized throughout the year that medication is what put them over the edge and into the donut hole. So if you're on a new medication, call and check it out and make sure that it is going to be covered or where you might end up falling into. Because some people will fall into that donut hole really early on in the year.
Yes.
Some people might be, mom's was, I think, August that first time. So
I don't want to assume that everybody listening knows what a donut hole is. It sounds like something you pick up at Dunkin' Donuts, which sounds like a good thing. But
it's not yummy.
No, but this part is not yummy. No. Explain what donut hole is, Jerry, and why we need to be cognizant of all this.
And you don't get coffee with it either.
No, that's even worse.
Yeah, exactly. So the donut hole is a combination of your copay for the drug and what the drug costs behind the scenes.
Okay.
They add those two together to get you. I think the donut hole now is $5,000 and change. I'm not sure. I could look at it because it changes every year.
Okay.
The government makes those numbers.
Okay.
And then by those combinations, your copay plus the price is what gets you to that donut hole. So the other thing I've helped people do is we'll reach out to the manufacturer of those drugs. And sometimes the manufacturer can step in and help those people. So
good. Yeah, because this is a question I have about this, and I don't want to get us too far off the topic, but I was thinking, like, as consumers, should we be aware of the actual cost of our prescriptions? Here's what I mean. Yes. Like, I go to the drugstore and we pay $20 for a particular prescription. But that's not the part that's kicking us toward the donut hole, right? It's the entire cost of that prescription, including whatever the drugstore says the overall cost is. Right. So if you could find a savings on your prescription, you're going to stay out of a donut hole longer. Am I saying that the right way?
Yeah, you are. So it's really the retail price of the drug behind the scenes. And there again, at Medicare.gov, if you put a drug in and you scroll up, it'll show you the retail price. It'll even show you at different pharmacies.
Wow, because that's a thing that you would want to know then, right? Because if you could save, I don't know, I assume it might be possible you could save $10 here or $20 here.
Right.
It would make sense because that's going to keep you, or at least delay you falling into a donut hole.
That's right. So the other thing what I've experienced is a lot of people hit it near the end of the year, October, November, and then they don't get out of it.
Sorry, kids, you're not getting Christmas presents this year. Yep. We got to buy medication.
Right, and then it's kind of sad. It starts over again.
Yeah.
Come January 1, you're all restarting, recalculating. So what I'll do is we'll go, like I was saying, Medicare.gov, I'll go put them back in and see if and when you're going to hit it for that year.
So you can predict it for somebody.
Yes.
And then eventually you can fall out of the donut hole, right? Because you bought enough prescriptions and then it kind of kicks back in. Is that why that's probably why they call it a donut hole?
Yeah, they do. So that's called catastrophic coverage. If you get to the other side, which most people don't, but if you did, it's a lot lower.
Okay.
I mean, it's drastic.
So if you're the person who's sitting at home or driving in their car, or maybe they're listening at work, or they're whatever they're doing, but it's still before March 31st, what do you recommend they do to just do a safety check? Make sure we're all buckled in. We're going to have a good year. How does that work?
Yeah, no surprises.
Right.
You want to double check it. By the way, I did look up the donut hole for this year. It's $5,030.
So that means after your prescriptions have reached that amount.
Yes.
Now, are you totally on your own, or it's just most of you?
Now it goes to 25%. So you pay 25% of whatever that drug costs.
So it's no longer your little $20 copay or something. No. It's whatever a quarter of that drug really costs.
Right. And it can be, so some of these pricey drugs, some of these drugs are $800 a month, $600 a month.
It's not a joke.
No, it's no joke.
Yeah.
And if the other thing you can help get and may minimize this is what they call LIS or Medicaid of Florida.
Yeah.
And if you get those programs, a lot of times they'll step in and then you don't experience the donut hole.
Well, that's a whole other area we got to get into.
Yes.
But I want to make sure, what is that marketing term they often use, fear of missing out. It really does seem like you want to be careful to have this looked at before we get to the 31st. Jerry Hadlock, you're kind of like an expert in all this. How do people reach you about this?
You can reach me on my cell phone. It's area code 321-720-4526.
I'm gonna have you say that again, because I was laughing with Jerry. He was showing me his scheduling system, and he's like old school. He's got pen and paper, and he works his schedule that way. And I said, so that means that people really do need to reach you on that number to ask these questions. So let's give that number once or twice.
Okay, sure. Cell phone number is 321-720-4526. So 321-720-4526. I feel like I'm an infomercial.
Well, the problem is when we talk on the radio, it's not like we can flash the number up on the screen. In fact, that's another point that I wanted to mention with both you, Jerry Hadlock Insurance, and Jennifer Barton, who you see this because you've seen Joe help people in the office and how that actually works. And, the people can walk out a little bit with a sigh of relief, like, okay, I can have food this month and try to get my medicine.
Right. Oh yeah, he's actually one of my caregivers stopped in to drop off some paperwork, and as we were talking, she mentioned that holy cow, I've hit the donut hole this year. It was a new medication, and I said, well, wait a minute, let's go talk to Joe and just see if there's anything that he can do to help. A lot of times, he just needs the medication and the dosage, and so we walked over, and he was able to save her quite a bit of money while she's in the donut hole. So thank goodness.
Yeah, it's so important. I maybe you remembered. I don't remember Joe's number right off the top of my head, but I promise you, if you call the Helping Seniors info line, maybe you were driving and you couldn't get these numbers down, just ask Nancy or Karen. They will make sure that you have the numbers. We're talking. The person we're just talking about is Joe Pons. He's the owner of Canadian Meds of Melbourne. He's a great resource if any of this donut whole stuff happens, or maybe even if you're just looking to see if you could save money. He's a great resource for that. And then Jerry Hadlock, who we're talking about as a real go-to person on the Medicare, but maybe also Medicaid. There's so much stuff we got to unpack in all this. But again, let's give your number one more time.
My number?
Your number.
All right. Area code 321-720-4526. And add a little note, I do help people do the application to get QMB, which is Medicaid. Mm-hmm. I also have an application for what they call LIS, or extra help.
Good, because we are going to come back and talk a little bit more about that before the show is over. Mm-hmm. I wanted to talk a little bit with Jennifer, too, because your company is one of those, we always have this don't try this on your own thing. We're always telling people, make an aging plan, get your ducks in a row. But don't try this on your own. There's so much good help. What's the price of calling Jerry? It's FREE. Yes. Why are you trying to navigate around on a search engine, even if it's a search engine with AI?
True. That's true.
Why not talk to somebody who's boots on the ground, local, who knows what's going on?
Yep.
And the last point that I want to say about this for this minute is, like, I know we get calls from people who saw their favorite actor on TV who says, I can help you with Medicare. And so they call this 800 number. And, of course, you're not talking to your favorite actor. You're talking to some person who's in a call center someplace in the Midwest. And they're trying to explain to you about doctors in Palm Bay or Cocoa or Titusville. And, they think, oh, well, you live in Melbourne. There's a great doctor for you right up there in Titusville. But they don't really, see the geography. And that's something that you, Jerry, are very familiar with, right? What's practical and what's not.
Yes, I was born and raised here. I've been here all my life.
Yeah, we were talking before the show, Jennifer, that I asked to say, well, so suppose you miss this 31st deadline that we've been talking about. Mm-hmm. So there may be some ways that you might still be able to look at this after the first. And I said, it's true, like if you're new to Brevard County, that might work. Okay, because you said like even you've had people who've moved from Orlando.
Yes.
So you say if they come in from a different county, they might have this opportunity.
Yeah, they called it SEP, and all that means is special enrollment period. So if I had my address changed, I went from one county to another. A lot of times that's a special enrollment where I can put them into a new plan in this area. Yeah,
because I guess if you lived in Orlando, you went to doctors in Orlando, that may or may not be convenient once you're back here. No. But that's why I say you got to, we always talk about helping seniors of Brevard being 100% local because even though there are things that are very common that everybody experiences through aging, wherever you are, whatever land, it's just related to aging. It's not related to even United States. It's worldwide. But still, all the help that you need is local. And Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors, that's one of the things that's so good about what you do. You're a little in addition to being a rock star, you're like a little economic engine locally because not only do you serve seniors with companion care, but you hire seniors for companion care. And you also have this really unique program called Electronic Caregiver that makes it safer for seniors. So you've got like all these things all happening with Seniors Helping Seniors. And we're going to talk about it a lot in the second part, but, there's a lot to unpack right there with what you guys do in the community. 100% local.
100% local, yes. I was out at a meeting the other day, and I said we're all seniors all the time.
Yeah.
Which is true. All of our caregivers are seniors.
Yeah.
So it's someone a little closer in age coming in. I did an interview today. One phone interview and one in-person interview, and she's exactly who we want to hire. She has been there, done that. She's done caregiving in her own life. She just wants to go out and be helpful, do something that she feels really good about. So she will make a wonderful caregiver for us, and that's exactly who we want. Is my policy has always been that I don't want to hire somebody that I wouldn't put in mom and dad's house.
Right.
And so that's who we send out there, and they're having a great time. And so therefore the clients are having a great time and the whole thing works.
Yeah, we're going to talk a little bit more with Jennifer Barton, Seniors Helping Seniors. For now, let's just pass along a phone number.
Our number at the office is 321-722-2999. Again, that's 321-722-2999.
Well, great local resources to help seniors and their families. We're going to talk some more about this and have some exciting announcements about car raffle fundraiser. We're going to also talk about the Helping Seniors Foundation cruise and also good stuff that's going to help you in your own aging plan on the second half of the Helping Seniors show. See you in a few.
It's 12:33 right now here on 90.3 FM. You're listening to Helping Seniors of Brevard. And as I turn to our host and executive director of Helping Seniors of Brevard, Kerry Fink, I've got to ask, what are all the smiles about?
Well, ever just bouncing along to the music, It's we always called it the music of your life, and it's always fun. And we were laughing about that. We had some new guests like last week, and it's like it doesn't matter if you've been here once or 1,000 times. Glenn Miller still works.
They really got into the music. They were swinging and singing and jiving.
Yeah, we put some cameras in here. We'll have like America's Dance Off or something.
That's right.
I don't know.
Bring back American Bandstand.
Well, it's all good. Thank you, John.
You're welcome.
So we're back for the second half of the Helping Seniors Lunch Hour right here on 90.3 FM, WEJF Radio. And if you're listening online at WEJF.net, welcome back. And if you're continuing on in the podcast, welcome back. And if you missed any of the great discussion we were having with our special guest on the first half of the show, talking about Jerry Hadlock, who is expert in all things Medicare and possibly even Medicaid as far as qualifying for coverage and things like that. And we've been talking about the fact there's an important deadline that's looming here on the 31st about, now it's not open enrollment. What was it called again, Jerry?
No, it is open enrollment. We're in OEP.
Okay.
And then from October 15th to December the 7th, they call that AEP.
So this is open enrollment
Yeah.
period where you can have kind of what I would call buyer's remorse and say, maybe I should make a change so this is going to work a little bit better.
It's a one-time change.
Yeah.
So once you make that change, that's it.
Yeah.
Now you're locked in until December 31st.
So if you missed some of that dialogue, go back and catch the podcast. And then our other guest in the studio is a longtime friend of the Helping Seniors organization, is none other than rock star Jennifer Barton. And we say rock star because she really did win the Women Who Rock Awards.
That was wonderful. One of my friends texted me after and said, "Well, it's official. You rock."
There you go.
Thank you.
It makes perfect sense. No, but your company, Seniors Helping Seniors of Brevard, really does rock because, I was kind of kidding, but I'm not kidding. You do so much in the community because, first of all, you provide a great service to seniors and their families by helping them with what's called companion care. And I'm going to ask you to define that a little bit. So, because a lot of times these terms get really technical, and we as just people, we're not sure. I always joke about there's so many great places like retirement living options in Brevard County. But unfortunately, if you're out in the general public, you just say old folks home, and that's about as far as you get in your thinking without starting to understand how many great things there are and how wrong that term really is, because there really isn't that kind of a thing anymore. Maybe it was a thing back when we were all kids. But not only do you not only do you go to seniors and help them, but you hire seniors. So you're a great employment force as well. But then you have this other neat thing called the electronic caregiver, which is such a blessing because, it's so dangerous. We're doing a thing tomorrow, as you know, at the Joe Senior Resource Center. That's our facility that Omni Healthcare Group and Dr. DeLegdish made available to us. We're on the second floor of that beautiful Omni Healthcare building in downtown Melbourne. It's just a block or two from the hospital there on the medical campus. And so we do a thing every fourth Thursday called the Helping Seniors Wellness Series. And I was just thinking about this. So tomorrow morning, 11 to 12:30, you are welcome to come out and join us. And it is about no broken bones about it. It's about falls and balances. And Jeetal Patel, who is the owner of Coastal Occupational Therapy, she is going to be there to basically not only guide us through things we want to know to keep us stable as we're walking in our elder years, because how many know that, a fall at the wrong time can kind of really, it can actually end things, if it, so it's, you got to be real careful with that. And then they're actually going to do, I think they call it tug tests. I lose all this, this terminology, but they're going to help you see where you stand if you want to on the, on the scale of, safety and ability and things like that. The point I was bringing up is, we used to laugh about the electronic caregiver kind of things as those help I fallen, I can't get up things. But not only is that seriously true as you get older, that you do want that protection, but now it's so much more than that. Let me start asking you, Jennifer, talk a little bit about just the electronic caregiver, because what a great concept it is, and it marries technology and safety, and it's affordable and all those things.
Well, to back up a little bit, at Seniors Helping Seniors, we are often the very first rung into care. So we're the first time people have had help in the house. So a lot of our clients are still very active and independent. Mm-hmm. We might only be in once a week. Mm-hmm. And we had a lot of clients ask us, do you recommend this personal care alert system versus this one? And there were so many out there. I finally stopped and went back and researched, and we found this electronic caregiver. It was a local woman who represented the company. She would go right out to the house, install it, made it, compatible with exactly what they needed. It was wonderful. And I felt really good about the service and everything about it. And she had a number of our clients that she took care of, and then she retired. So we had to go back and say, all right, what are we going to do now? But the company came to us and said, you've got a number of clients with us. Would you like to be our representative? So I took a step back and I researched again, is this something that I want to put our name behind? And it was. I really felt good about the company still, so we went ahead and did that. Fast forward to 2020, COVID hits.
Oh, my goodness.
Seniors Helping Seniors as a franchise, as the whole company, home office decided, let's do this.
Yeah.
And they did the research again. I was part of the committee since I'd already done it once. And they decided as the whole community that, yes, we wanted to represent the electronic caregiver. So it made us feel good that we chose well.
Yeah, absolutely.
and why we chose that is we want to keep people active and independent as much as possible. And the electronic caregiver does that. You know, the old-fashioned machines would sit in the house and you could go 50 yards away, maybe 100 yards away, and that's as far as it would go. So if you're way in the backyard or you walk to the neighbor's house, it's not going to cover you.
Right.
And that's not good enough. So the electronic caregiver, you have I like the watch, not the pendant. I like the watch because it's water resistant. You never have to take it off. People will always take the pendant off at night. You get up in the middle of the night to go to the bathroom, you fall, the pendant's on the bedside table. Not a good idea. Nope. So I love the bracelet. You can have that on all the time, but when you go to leave the house, you go over to your box. It's a tiny little box. You pick it up and you walk out with it. So it will go through the whole entire neighborhood. Wow. It will go in Walmart parking lot. We have known about a woman who fell in between the cars in a Walmart parking lot.
Wow.
So nobody could see her.
Right.
But if she had the electronic caregiver, you press that button. There's 3 types of geo-satellite location systems.
Wow.
They know exactly where you are and where to send someone.
Wow.
Yes.
That's
So
amazing.
Wickham Park, wherever they go, they're covered. We've got a good family friend up in New York. She fell out the back door one winter. Thank goodness she was able to crawl back in. But we sent one up there to her.
Yeah.
And so she has it, and no matter where she goes, I bumped into her in the airport in Sanford. Oh my gosh. And where is your bracelet? Well, it's up in New York.
Well, how's that going to help you here?
Exactly. What? No.
Yeah.
She was down here babysitting her daughter's dogs while they were on vacation. No, you should have had that here with you because it goes wherever you go.
Yeah.
No matter where.
You know, and I was thinking, as you've explained, it's like a lot of times it's not just seniors who are doing this. A lot of people, like on college campuses and students, for the safety aspect.
They are.
Yeah.
That was really surprising to me when I first heard that, but it makes sense because, especially for us ladies, and I'll pick on myself, I have a fairly big purse. My phone isn't always readily available. I'll get there, but it may take. And if you're panicked, it's going to take you a little bit longer to grab that. This is literally a press of a button. Yeah. And you've got GPS location. So God forbid there's a girl going across campus at night. Yes. They can track her.
Yes,
so
absolutely.
It's a scary situation, but yeah, they're using it for college campuses now.
So we're talking with Jennifer Barton of Seniors Helping Seniors. Among other things, they are the experts behind the electronic caregiver. If somebody wants to get information just on that or any of the things, maybe, I love how you put it when you're hiring, you say we look for somebody with the heart of a volunteer who doesn't mind accepting a paycheck. And then on the other side, maybe somebody needs help at home. And you guys really are such a blessing to families, especially like when it's kids who are, maybe living up north or they're just not here and can't keep eyes on mom or dad or aunt or uncle, and then they can call you and feel good that somebody's really making sure everything is going fine,
Absolutely. And that is one of my favorite parts of what we do is getting to be there for the senior and also getting to be there for the family and sometimes kind of playing mediator because we'll come in and it's a lot of times it's the adult daughter is getting bossy. If you ask mom, she's getting bossy, and mom's kind of tired of that.
Yeah.
And the daughter is just worried about her, and she doesn't listen to me. And so we can sometimes kind of come in and mediate. And mom, we're just going to be here for peace of mind because she's going to go back to New York. And she worries about you, and that's a good thing. You did a good job. She cares.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's good. You've got children who love you and care about you. So we'll just be here for peace of mind. And we totally understand the seniors side of it too. I have been a professional woman my whole life. I've been there, done that. I've handled all of my business on my own. And now I need help.
Yeah.
That's a hard place to be. So that transition into a little bit of care, we try to make it as painless as possible. And we'll admit to them, the first time you have help, it is weird.
Yeah, exactly.
But they're not here to take over. It's someone a little closer in age. You've got some common interests, and hopefully they'll find it really helpful and be okay with that initial help.
I think that's really the advantage also to what you do by being that first rung. You're getting mom and dad, aunt and uncle, whoever the person is, you're getting them used to accepting a little bit of help, so that if they need more help as they go on, that the family's not going to have all that resistance to it. Like, no, I'm doing this on my own. I did it my way.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. And then I would so much, as Joe says, so much rather have people go with a company that they know, like, and trust in the beginning, so that they're not making a panicked decision later on. A lot of people will wait. Oh, I don't need help. And they're a little stubborn. They'll dig their heels in. And then something happens, a fall happens, and they're making quick emergency decisions when they're very stressed.
Yeah.
Right.
And the time to do that really is beforehand. Get a little bit of help, even if it's just a house cleaner.
Right.
Why clean the house if you're going to be on the couch for the next 3 days recovering?
Good point.
Go ahead and get a housekeeper now, and have that done for you so that you can go out and do things that you actually really enjoy doing.
Yeah. So, Jennifer Barton with Seniors Helping Seniors of Brevard, how do people reach you for any of these topics that we've been talking about?
So we can be reached by phone at 321-722-2999. Again, that's 321-722-2999. And of course, we have a website, seniorshelpingseniors.com/Brevard. And I have to do one public service announcement, going back to what we were discussing with the medications and donut holes, and my mom being very mathematically oriented. She figured out the whole donut hole thing. Okay, when are we going to be in? What medications do we have? Well, if I get this one from Walgreens, it's cheaper. Right. And if I get this one from Sam's Club, or what?
Yeah.
So I'm exaggerating slightly, but she's got 42 different pharmacies that they get their pills from.
Wow. Wow.
Jeez.
There's no longer one pharmacist who is looking over that whole list.
Right.
Yes.
That's a problem.
That is a problem. Yes.
So please, 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 when you're out there and you're kind of figuring that out, if that's you and that's the type of person you are and that's what you're doing, make sure you have one list of medications, of all of your medications, no matter who the doctor is. Take that from doctor to doctor and have it checked. Have your whole list checked at least once a year by a pharmacist that can make sure that there are no problems. Unfortunately, medications can have side effects, and this medication should not be given with that medication, but because it's two separate doctors, they don't realize.
Right.
And I have seen that over and over again, even in my own family members, with extended family. So please make sure, have one list that you take everywhere you go and have it checked by a professional at least once a year.
That is a great public service announcement, and I was smiling because as you were talking about that, I was thinking about another one of our center members at Joe's Resource Center there. Her name is Dr. Cressida Cornish, and she is actually a licensed pharmacist. She's retired from the day-to-day practice of pharmacy, but she's kept her licensure. And in her retirement years, she said, really what I want to do is help people manage their prescriptions. So there's a term out there called polypharmacy, which means you've got more than one pill, and sometimes inadvertently, if you went to one doctor for one thing and one doctor for another, a lot of times it is that pharmacist who will catch, like, hey, did you know this has this thing going on? So actually, speaking of the Helping Seniors Wellness Series, tomorrow, as I mentioned, 11 to 12:30, we do this on the last Thursday of each month. Tomorrow is actually, as I said earlier, no broken bones about it. Jita Patel, Coastal Occupational Therapy, is going to be our key speaker. But literally in April, Dr. Cressida Cornish is going to come in, and she's going to talk about polypharmacy, and she's going to invite everybody. She said, Kerry, I don't want them to bring a list. I thought this was interesting because I was asking her about this. She said, I don't want them to bring a list. I want them to actually clean out their medicine cabinet and just bring what's in there. Right. She said, because what her experience has told her, too, is like you went to the doctor, they gave you a prescription for some time, you didn't take all the pills, so they're still sitting up there in, maybe a year ago,
Yep.
they're still sitting in your medicine cabinet. She goes, I want to make sure that you're safe, not just from the list, but from literally everything that you might have in your home.
Yeah,
Yes.
old prescriptions. That is a very common thing that they sit there back in the medicine cabinet, and then that would be very easy to confuse.
Yes, and so that was her point. So anyway, put that date on your calendar. I guess I'll have to look up. It's the last Thursday of April is going to be Dr. Cressida Cornish, but again, tomorrow, the last Thursday in March, is going to be Jeetal Patel. If you want information about those to RSVP, you just call us at 321-473-7770. That's the Helping Seniors info line, 321-473-7770. Because you might have a question about some of the things you heard us talking about with Jerry Hadlock about Medicare, Medicaid, this enrollment period, what happens if you're outside the realm, all these questions. Ask an expert. And if we're talking with Jennifer about, if you need help at home, or you might be interested in the benefits of electronic caregiver and learning more, or maybe you're piqued by the idea, you've got a heart of a caregiver and you want to help us, then you would call Jennifer.
And I'm going to put a plug in. I would like a gentleman.
Okay.
We love to hire men to go out and hang out with other gentlemen.
Yep.
There are a lot of female caregivers out there, but male caregivers are actually in high demand.
Yeah.
And we love to, especially if we've got a military vet, put another military vet with him.
Yeah.
I always pick on the guys. I think they have the most fun because they're usually the companionship ones. But we would love to have gentlemen apply at Seniors Helping Seniors, and we'd love to put you to work, and you would have a great time with it.
So that number again.
321-722-2999.
And Jerry Hadlock about those questions for Medicare, Medicaid, insurance, all that.
Any questions at all, you can call me at 321-720-4526. That's 321-720-4526. Can I put a little plug in on what you guys were just talking about?
Of course.
So I've had people give me lists in the past,
Yeah.
handwritten lists. They'll email them to me. A lot of times they'll misspell those drugs.
Oh, wow.
So what I've learned to do, especially if I'm at someone's home, I'll say, I'd like to see the pill bottles.
Yes.
Because then it tells me
Yes.
generic, brand name. And
Good point.
those pill bottles are usually spelled correctly.
Yeah.
Because I've had people, they'll inadvertently put an A and an E and they'll reverse it and it's not the right pill.
Right. Oh, wow. Yeah, because a lot of them have those really complicated names too, right?
Who makes up these names?
I laugh. It's like, you see these commercials on TV all the time. I don't want to get on a soapbox about this. They have this catchy jingle and they tell you this is named this. And then you read like whatever the little legal name is of this. You're like, oh my goodness. It's like crazy. Well, I wanted to reserve a couple of minutes at the end of the show so that we could talk about Choose Your Adventure, which is what we decided to call our Helping Seniors car raffle this year. Jerry, you were out there early on when we were kicking this off at a couple of events, and Jennifer, you were out there when we actually kicked this whole thing off at Trinity Wellsprings Church with their Higher Power Car Show. And this year we have got, it's so much fun. It just seems like it gets bigger each year, right? Because this year we're actually up to 6 cars. So that's why we called it Choose Your Adventure. So I'm going to say these and see if I can remember them as part of it. So these all cars come from A.J. Heyer's family of fine car dealerships, which is why we get such a wonderful variety to think through. So this year, for the first time that I can ever think of, we have a Jeep. It's a Jeep Compass Sport that's on the list. Also from the Jeep Dodge Chrysler store, they've made available a little sporty thing called a Dodge Hornet. Okay. And so if you're into the sporty side of things, there's that adventure for you. If you like the kind of like the mini practical things, we've got the Mitsubishi Outlander again, same as our winner chose last year. Diane Pelak said, I want the Mitsubishi Outlander. She's happily tooling around in that now. It was like a year or two before that, we gave away a Kia Sportage, so that car is also in the running this year. We also have a really kind of a stylish little Mazda sedan called the Mazda 3 that you can choose from. And then another kind of like an interesting candidate in this particular race is a Chevy Colorado, which is a neat little mid-size truck. So, Jerry, do you have a horse in this race yet? What do you like?
No, I would like the Chevy.
The Colorado truck?
Yes.
Jennifer, who has always been representing Dodge all the way through, of course, it was the Challenger.
Yeah, I'm still a Challenger fan.
Okay, all right. Well,
I don't know yet. I really would like to get out and drive all of them to figure it out, although I might I might jump ship from Dodge and go over with a pickup truck.
You never know. So, it's interesting because when we were out there that first weekend in February with the Higher Power Car Show, we were talking about the fact that you and Ashley Caswell, who have normally butted heads because she's Camaro and you've been Dodge, you guys were kind of like, well, we're going to approach this whole thing as an adventure and decide which cars we like because there's 6 of them to choose from. So it's going to be fun.
Exactly. So, yeah, I haven't chosen my adventure yet.
Okay. Well, so how this works, you will choose your adventure because you want to get this date on your calendar, Sunday. It's going to be a Sunday afternoon. We're going to do this entirely in the daytime. It's going to be inside and outside Mark's beautiful American Muscle Car Museum. It's going to be so much fun. We've got all kinds of like little choose your adventure plans coming up. It's going to be unlike anything we've been able to do before. We're making it a family friendly Sunday outing at Mark's amazing American Muscle Car Museum. So you want to get this date down on your calendar. Save this date. Sunday, October 27th, 1 p.m. to 4 p.m., you will want to be at the American Muscle Car Museum, and at 2:30 that afternoon, we are going to find out who is choosing their adventure. But you have to get a ticket to be in it to win it. And so, Jennifer, talk about ways we can get tickets.
You can go online at helpingseniors.carraffle.com.
Perfect.
You can call the office. Nancy or Karen will pick up the phone, gladly sell you a ticket at 321-473-7770. You can also stop by the Senior Resource Center, and we will fight over who gets to sell you a ticket because we have a little friendly competition going on there.
That's funny.
I always have tickets. I know you can go to any of the dealerships.
That's right.
The Dodge, the Chevy dealerships, Mazda, they all have tickets to sell. If you see me out and about, I always have tickets in my purse.
And it's simple. It's one ticket is $25, $5 for a $100 donation. Jerry, do you have a supply of tickets? We got to make sure.
No, I need to get a supply from you.
We're going to make sure
make that
that
happen.
Jerry is going to be a ticket dealer.
Yes.
There you go.
Ticket dealer. That sounds
dealer.
like
Sounds interesting.
slightly nefarious, but it's all for a good cause. Helping seniors cause, because this is literally half of our budget every year, and it's a fun way. Joe started these years ago so that there would be a fun way to keep his charities going. He got the Joe's Clubs built all really with help of AJ and these car raffles, and now here we are. This is our 8th annual. It's hard to imagine how time is flying, but it's so much fun. It's a great day that everybody's going to be looking forward. October 27th, Sunday afternoon at the American Muscle Car Museum. And then one last thing I want to slide in here is we are getting ready to go cruising in June 9th.
Nice.
Chris Morse, who is the director of the Helping Seniors Travel Club, says there is still room for you to join the Helping Seniors Travel Club cruise, 7-night cruise out of Port Canaveral, fundraiser for Helping Seniors. Not that we shake you down for money when you go on the cruise. It's the other way around. You buy the cruise, and we shake the cruise line down for that money,
Nice.
and then they help us keep going. So you got to find out about that, helpingseniorstravelclub.com, or call us at 321-473-7770. Well, that's really the time we have. I want to thank Jennifer Barton, Seniors Helping Seniors, Jerry Hadlock, Medicare expert, for joining us. We will look forward to seeing you on the next edition of Helping Seniors next Wednesday. See you then.